Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have two very special guests. Mr. Jamie Thomas and Chris Cole are in the building. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yes.
It's a blessing to be here.
Jamie, it's a blessing to have you here. Thank you so much.
This is an iconic duo right here.
Bro, we've been doing the duo episodes, and this is a duo of all duos right here.
Agreed.
You know? You okay?
I'm good.
I wish we got the first half on film. Oh, we do have it on film,
I'm
technically.
sure it's somewhere.
Yeah, that was pretty damn funny right there.
Yeah.
Maybe we could chop it in there.
Great, man.
Editor's cut.
Yeah.
It's because you guys drove all the way up here for this monumental moment. Appreciate this.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like, might as well be, Hall of Fame right here,
Jamie got here on time. I was late.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie got here really early.
I thought I was going to be late.
I thought he was going to be late, too.
Is this something that happens between you guys? Are you usually on time and you're usually late, or just is that a thing?
I don't think that we hang out in appointment style setting very often. So
But if you guys are going to go skate together, is one of you on time and one of you is always
usually
late?
we meet at 0 and
Yeah, we're pretty punctual.
go from
Okay.
Yeah, that was gonna say.
Yeah.
Both
Okay.
seem pretty punctual.
So what was the deal with being late today?
Me?
Yeah.
You know what? It just seemed like everybody wanted to put their car in a ditch.
Okay.
It was like from the wood shop back to the house, take care of the dogs was a lot of traffic. From there up here, a lot of traffic. It's a thing that happens. You kind of, normally you would plan that into your day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. That's it.
Okay.
And the only reason I was early is because I was trying to hang out with Ian from Jinkum.
Oh, yeah.
And so I left early thinking I would have time to go to Echo Park and then come here, but didn't.
Okay.
So I was actually late somewhere.
Oh.
Did you go? Did you
No,
go?
I just called him. And we
You said
talked on the
just
phone.
did- okay.
Yeah. It was too much by the time trying
Yeah.
to get from Echo Park to here at between 4 and 5 wasn't possible.
Driving to some place in LA before going to a different place in LA on the same day
Yeah.
feels like when you used to go to New York and try to skate like Flushing Meadows and then skate the Pyramid Ledge, like and like Brooklyn Banks, like you're getting like 2 maybe, like maybe.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll admit that I've never done that, but that sounds cool. To hit 2 of those spots in one day sounds real cool.
Listen, we got to go back to when you guys like met. Where it all started. I'm assuming it started in the yellow camo days when you guys first met. But before that,
Yeah, we met before that.
where'd you guys meet? Like initially?
Oh, well, should I tell the story? Because,
Yeah, go ahead.
because I remember it.
Okay.
Right,
So you're saying Jamie doesn't remember it?
Well, no, like it wasn't as big a deal to
Sure,
Jamie as
okay.
it was to me, right? So Jamie's memory of it is the new memory that he made from my story of it.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounded amazing.
So in Philadelphia, Sub-Zero had a contest. Sub-Zero was the skate shop there. And they were down on South Street. They had a contest at Rizzo Skate Plaza underneath the bridge where there's like a DIY now. And I skated that contest, and I was 11 years old. It was my first contest. Skated that contest. Fast forward a while, 411 number 7 comes out. It had contest results at the end of 411 number 7. It also had a Jamie Thomas profile. I went down to Sub-Zero to buy that issue of 411 when it came out, and skated from South Street to City Hall. Lo and behold, Jamie Thomas is in Philadelphia filming for Heavy Metal.
Wow.
So he's there, and I
like how you're using my full name still.
Jamie Thomas. Because
At this point,
Doesn't he just always call you this?
At this point, he needs both names, right? We don't know each other.
Okay.
So I come up to him. I'm like, "Hey, you're in this issue," and he's like, "Yeah, I am." And then we talked about like just random, like I'm a fucking kid, so I'm talking about like dumb stuff. But he was super cool, and that was it.
That was the first time you guys made a cut. But you don't remember this, though, Jamie.
So I do remember meeting him because I had a James Kelch shirt on that said James with a flower.
Okay.
And I was wearing it, trying a line at City Hall with Wolf. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, that's my name." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And later, I found out, when he got on Zero and we, reconnected. Actually, we probably were on a circuit trip, and he told me about the meeting where we met at City Hall. And then I remembered when he told me, like, "Yeah, you had a James Kelch shirt on, and my name is," and I was like, "Wait, your name's not even James." He's like, "No, it's my first name, James Chris Cole." And then I was like, I see. I put it all together now. But anyway, so I had remembered that.
Gotcha.
And then him telling me the story kind of brought it back. But it was only about, at that time, it was 2000 probably. We were on a circuit trip somewhere, New Mexico or something, and he's telling me the story.
Right.
And anyway, it was only 5 years ago.
Well, just for like a time reference, when was that day that you met him in Philly? Like what year?
It was July 17th.
19.
Well, when did Heavy Metal come
It would
out?
probably be,
Heavy Metal.
it would probably be
95.
95 zone.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Late 94, early 95.
Before Zero started.
Yeah.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
So when did you guys connect on like, oh, I'm gonna put this dude on Zero?
Well, that came after circuit trips. That was like way later.
Yeah, so I had an appreciation for Cole skating and helped get him on Circa too. I went to Tampa Am and was like, this dude Mirko Mangum, who's a good friend. He was a TM at the time and the marketing dude. And I went to Tampa Am to look for, new AMs for Zero and just to be there with our AMs. And I came back and like the two names that I gave Mirko was Colt Cannon and Chris Cole.
With both riding for Circa.
Yeah, no, Mirko's
Both with C names.
yeah, Mirko.
4 C's.
That's a lot of C's. Yeah. And you Chris Roberts.
C squared.
times 5. Let me ask you a question. Is this because this is, I think it was in the documentary, is this the time where you met Chris and you were telling him to kind of about his style? No, but you're laughing.
This is where I was the villain of the Chris Cole documentary.
Now, did you get villainized for it? Did people really?
Yes. That the documentary needed a villain in that part of the documentary.
It's interesting.
And me telling him to stop pushing Mongo if he wants to have a career
And
in
change his
skateboarding.
clothes.
I didn't say that.
That never happened.
That never happened.
Okay. Just Mongo. I think that's a legitimate thing to say to
I
someone.
mean, I was saying what everybody was thinking.
There you go.
Yeah, but
Totally.
no one was saying it.
No, you know
And
what?
how did you take that?
It was unsolicited, though. I will tell you, it was unsolicited.
He didn't ask if
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't
It was
say.
very hurtful.
He didn't say, "Hey, man, do you have any advice for me?"
You just said, "Hey, man, I have some advice for you."
And you know what though? Like, it is one of those moments where it was like the tough love that you did get when you're in your like hometown, right? Like, so there was a moment where it was like either be really sad that he said these things and do nothing about it, or actually think about what he did, better yourself. Like what he did. What he did to me did. Yeah, so it was
I was just saying, I think it's legitimate though. You know what I mean? Because I think there's always some kid that you want to help out. You see something in them, and I think even just watching skate videos or just knowing what's going on in the industry, you're always like, oh, if that dude just did this, if he just changed this, they could be incredible. But that one little thing could be holding them back.
Yeah, I mean, I went out on a limb though. We were connecting. We kind of may have brought up the story. He had a lot to share what was going on, what he was trying, tricks, and I was talking to him. And I saw the kind of, I don't want to say opportunity, but the opportunity for mentorship just in passing, and it was because he seemed open. He was very, down to talk and was talking to me already. It wasn't like I just went up to him and tapped him on the shoulder. Hey dude, stop pushing Mongo if you know what's best. But we were having a conversation, and I was like, I think I said, hey, do you mind coming by our hotel or whatever? We ended up hanging out later, and then I ended up kind of talking about it in depth and saying like, look man, you have amazing potential. So it's kind of like that sandwich, right? The compliment sandwich. You have such amazing potential. If you stop pushing Mongo, you could have a career in skateboarding, like a real career.
I think also though he would have figured it out eventually.
For sure.
You know, like, but you just, it was an early,
Yeah, no.
or you still would have been pushing
yeah,
Mongo
no.
to this day.
Did anyone talk to you about the Mongo thing? The Mongo thing never came up before Jamie said something to
The
you?
funny thing about the Mongo thing is the Mongo thing was every now and then. I pushed both ways.
Okay.
It just depended on how comfortable I wanted to get, how quick I needed speed.
Okay.
It was a whole thing. I had a sales pitch at some point, but I've dropped that sales pitch and just been like, yeah, man, Mongo's lame.
Tell me how long.
Yeah. But
The Mongo set you up to push Switch, though.
yeah,
That's the great thing about
Big
Mongo.
time.
super hard. Yeah.
You can see all the dudes that were Mongo.
Oh, yeah.
Donnie Barley,
Chico Brenes,
Ricky
a lot
Oyola.
of people.
A lot of good Switch pushers out there.
Hmm They look good pushing Switch.
Yeah.
I did have a little bit of beef every time I saw people pushing Mongo Switch after that, though, because I was like, well, that's not fair. Like, I had to change. Like,
You didn't have
just
to.
because it's Switch. No, I didn't have to.
Right,
But
right.
it's like, why aren't they getting pure
Switch
play?
Switch was acceptable at that time. 94, 95 was very crucial.
Totally.
And
I
It
get
looks
it.
different though. Like when you push Switch Mongo, it's like your shoulders are like different. If that makes sense.
You look even dumber, Switch.
You think
Yeah,
so?
yeah.
Yeah, because you're less coordinated that way, Switch. Like, it's like super weird.
Not for me.
There's some pretty dope skaters that have just made it like cool. That's what I think.
Well, when you skate, if you push Mongo regular footed, your shoulders are wide open, so it looks kind of crazy. You know, like,
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Agreed. Totally. I
Yeah.
absolutely get that. If you had your foot sideways
Yeah.
and you were pushing Mongo, you're doing the Bartman.
You also don't see people pushing Switch Mongo and navigating the board with their heel on the tail.
Oh yeah.
And when you see that on a regular Mongo, that's like that's tough.
That's a cringe, yeah.
Yeah.
You're about to break out a one-footed manual right there.
You got Josh Kalis, Mike Carroll. There's some people that have just impeccable Mongo pushes, in my opinion.
That's fair. Cosman had a good one too. I remember.
So you took that as good advice, and you slowly tried to switch from what he was telling you at the Tampa Am.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like cue Rocky training montage. Me out front of my house pushing
Try to,
like laps.
but
Let me get this right.
no, but that's interesting. I think it's good advice, you know. And it sucks that you were like villainized for that, like in that documentary. You know,
I don't mind it, man.
People were like,
I mean, I did mind it a little bit just because of how it was set up in the documentary. But
okay,
in real
gotcha,
life,
gotcha.
when people talk about it, like,
it's
I'll be
normal.
the dude that says, what needs to be said.
Sure.
Say need to be said. I mean, that's my opinion. But
Yeah,
I was
but
cool with it.
it's an overall opinion, though. It's the skateboarding
I just
opinion.
saw how amazing Cole's control was, how his skating. Usually you talk about these things when you're not next to the person. But
Yeah.
like I saw how amazing of a skateboarder he was, and this thing was like a major setup.
Sure.
So I was just like, this dude has the potential to be like the best skateboarder in the world. So that was where my head was at, and I was like, I don't see anyone talking about this or talking to him about this, and
Let me step in.
Yeah, let me step in because let's get this thing on its way.
For sure. And were you already considering
No,
zero?
this was like, there's a dude here that's just so amazing, and for some reason, someone's not telling him how important this is.
So like this was right around the time before CKY came out, right? So this is like my first trip down to Tampa, and like after I didn't want to go to Tampa Am until I could win any contest that was a local, like hands down, like for sure I'm winning that before going to like a travel to contest.
Ooh.
Traveled to Tampa, got my ass handed to me. It was insane. Like I was like, oh my god, everybody's good, right? But those years were like, Appleyard was there, Colt Cannon was there, Jeff Lanose was there, Susky was there. Like dudes were
What a
good, like
lineup.
they were really good, and so that was a tough one. But you know, I had a whole bunch of feedback to go back home with from him and from just watching people skate and how good the world was. You know.
Pause podcast. Okay. I need to tell you guys that this episode is brought to us by Athletic Greens.
Ooh, we love Athletic Greens.
Dude.
This is gold in a box, right? Love this stuff. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods probiotics, and Kelly's favorite thing in the whole world, adaptogens.
I love
There it is.
adaptogens.
This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging.
Well, not only that,
Ooh, tell me, Dro.
contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good.
Nothing budget, only buttery, right?
Nothing budget, please. But it also supports better sleep quality and recovery as well.
Tons of people take multivitamins, but it's important that you choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb.
And it's also better when you not to have a full medicine cabinet full of, supplements.
Oh man.
Wait, so I can get rid of all my supplements?
Yeah, I was just over at Kelly's house the other day, opened the cabinet, hit with supplements.
Get the trash can. Throw them in there.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is just visit athleticgreens.com/9club. That's NINCLUB. Again, athleticgreens.com/9club. Take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance, which is Athletic Greens.
Take over your health now.
And at that time, did you have your eyes on Zero either, or were you?
We actually loved Zero, even though everybody at that time kind of dressed hip hop. We loved Zero, and so
Why?
like the first Zero commercial came out, and it was like a clothing company, and we liked the name. But then once the first Zero video came out, we would always watch it and get all pumped. I didn't have any money, but my friend Ryan Beck worked at the skate shop, and he bought me a Zero, what's it called, American Zero shirt. When the first shipment of shirts came out, he bought me a gray American Zero shirt, and I used to wear it all the time.
Rad. So you had no inclination of wanting to get on Zero at that point in time.
No.
I feel like it was such a gradual process. You know,
Yeah?
now that he said Apple Yard, I went back and told him, trying to see if you can get these dudes as AMT. He got all 3 of them.
You got them all.
Which is awesome, and we were able to travel together. But Cole, during the early years in Circa, we would travel together, and I was sober. Cole was just the epitome of a skate nerd. He was just consuming skateboarding on all levels, and I liked to room with him because I could hear his mind and all the things that were important to him and all the things that mattered, and just hear how he saw skateboarding. I thought it was fascinating.
Okay.
So we started rooming together on the circuit trips, and then while we were rooming together, he was on Enjoy, but on the East Coast, and it seemed to me that there wasn't really a place for him to really do his thing. And so it was kind of like I was listening to him tell me how he didn't feel like he was a part of that. Meanwhile, I have a front row seat to watching his skateboarding just continue to evolve and, just like blow my mind on a consistent basis because we're traveling together. And then that circuit tour, we went to Europe, and that circuit tour, the Video Radio Tour, where everyone attacks Moscow and Germany.
Oh, yeah.
That tour was crazy. But, at that point, we had done like 10 or 15 demos together over a 2 to 3 week period. So I was able to see his skating on every type of obstacle. And at that point, at the very end of it, hearing where he was at, I was just like, man, this is kind of far away. He's, on the East Coast. He's not really a part of our crew. Most people that are on Zero are like they become a part of our crew before they get on. Sure. So it was definitely going out on a limb, but I was like, this guy's gonna be Skate of the Year someday. And he is so cool, and I love hanging out with him and skating with him. So for me, it was
blushing over here.
Yeah. So for me, it was like going back to the team and going like, hey guys, I have a dude that doesn't like fit the bill of all the guys that have come before, but this guy's got it all. And everyone, was like, okay, if you say so. It was kind of like where I did the executive vote. I usually take everyone's vote on the team.
Well, wasn't it not a unanimous decision?
I didn't really ask. I let everyone know.
Okay.
I let everyone know, like, hey, I got a silver bullet, and I'm about to use it, and it's Chris Gold.
Okay.
So for me, I went back, and some people couldn't see it. They couldn't see where it would evolve and how it would evolve and how it would become and feel good, feel right. But, I think, I don't know. The rest is history.
I think it was.
That's it.
It's pretty funny. The world kind of got to see it in the In Bloom part. I feel like. 'Cause I feel like that's where there was some Enjoy footage, and then you see it get into Zero. You see it transition.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it was funny because during that time, like, people will say, like, baggy me, right? Like the old school. During that time, I was still listening to, like, heavy stuff, right? So I was still listening to Iron Maiden and Misfits and stuff like that all the time. But it was just kind of like you dress in what you got in a way, and then
like whatever sponsors are sending stuff
exactly,
to you,
and then there was a switch over right in like this zone in Bloom where I got to like kind of pick what I want to wear that represents how I felt on the inside.
Yeah.
And then so I'd go through and I'd try to find like the tougher stuff out of my sponsors.
Well, how old were you at this point?
I don't know. No idea.
19. Let's do the math.
Yeah.
It would have been 2000, right? 2001.
Yeah, 2001.
2000.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
You got on Zero in early 2002, so this would have been 2001. But a lot of this gear that he's wearing is my Circa gear, which was baggier still. So
That's true.
yeah, so I started making.
You like that shirt?
Yeah, I made jeans and apparel, and it was basically like he's wearing all the Circa gear, and then and then my gear and Circus gear just got tighter and tighter.
Well, I think it's funny too how the outside perceives it as well, right? Because with the outside looking in, because there's that old story about like you sending, like giving him gear to wear and like dressing him.
Yeah.
But in reality, like you had just sent him a shirt or something, right?
That
like,
is it. I sent him a Ozzy Osbourne shirt.
And all of a sudden you're dressing Chris Cole.
Like, when that happened? That happened when we were filming For Dying to Live, and we were in Atlanta. And he went to a thrift store. I was still sleeping downstairs at Joel's house, and he came in. He's like, "Hey, I went to this vintage store. This thing's too big for me."
Oh yeah.
And he gave me a shirt,
And
and then that's what spawned the whole thing.
It's so funny, man.
Yeah, it is. I actually also remember when the gears started turning about him putting me on Zero. From my perspective, at least, it happened. We were in Palm Desert, and we were shooting photos for a Circa catalog, and I was skating a curb, doing stall tricks on a curb. It was hot as shit. Like, it was so hot. I was skating a curb, just kind of talking to Jamie. Jamie was lacing up a pair of shoes sitting on the curb. And he asked me what Enjoy was doing, like when I was going to turn pro. And I was like, I actually asked, and it like took them by surprise. They kind of didn't have an answer for me at all. Like, we're kind of like, we hadn't even thought about it. I don't know. Okay. And he was like, really? They didn't even think about it? That's crazy.
And that's what made you think that that's crazy.
And I was like, I guess that is crazy.
But here's the thing. Did you not feel like a part of Enjoy? That was kind of, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Because like I almost feel like you're on the East Coast still.
Right.
Zero's on the West Coast. Now you're...
The only time I was ever like, I ever felt like I was a part of Enjoy was when I would hang out with Mark Johnson, which happened like twice in Huntington Beach, and we went to the movie theater and saw Mothman Prophecies, and we skated to Vulcan Park. And then
feel a part of it.
And then we would send each other text messages like joking about Mothman Prophecies for like the next month. Other than that, it was like they were over there. I was a super big fan, and so I was riding the product because I thought that they were funny, and I was a fan, but I was never like part of the tilt mode or anything.
Yeah, and that was a big thing back then, the tilt mode stuff.
It was great.
Huge.
Those videos were fantastic.
Huge. So I love the fact that you just had that silver bullet and like went with it, because it's important for a team to be cohesive and have a say in like what's going on with the team.
Yeah. I mean, around this, shortly after we got on in 2002, we filmed Dying to Live, shotgun style.
What did eat my freaking Z input, guys? What?
Obviously, like skating really good, but we went on trip after trip, and he got a part done in 6 months, and that was his done. Wow. Yeah. Maybe 8 months, but we went back to Barcelona a few times, which really helped things along. He was able to get a lot of his part done.
That was the first time I had ever been there.
To Barcelona?
Yeah.
Were you just on fire at this point? Were you just everything was firing,
I will
everything was
answer for
working?
him. Yes, he was on fire. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. I could make suggestions anywhere, any trick, and if that exact trick wasn't doable in a few tries, something similar was doable that might have even been better. It was like playing a video game. I'm filming a video part, and I had never experienced anything like that. I'd been filming for quite 10 years, making videos by this time.
Sure.
And I was like, this is the craziest thing.
I mean, 6 to 8 months to do a video part is not the easiest.
I mean, on this level.
Yeah.
also.
And rifling out like legit stuff.
I mean,
not
For a
easy.
0 video, that's
Barcelona was like eight tricks a day. It was like, it was.
I mean, mind you, the landscape in Barcelona, I mean, you have like the stage is beautiful out there, so it's like, yeah, you should be able to produce. But had you been there before? Was that your first time going?
That was my first time going.
Oh, so
like
I
the
mean-
time that like all of this Barcelona footage like went down was the first time that was there.
So
Like,
you were just pumped.
like most of it, except for this big brown
up, Sub the other
right
jacket?
here. That
What's up, man?
rail's right by my house. And Jamie used to come out and stay out in my zone in like suburban Philadelphia, and we would film, and it would just be like Jamie and me kind of going. to different-
Jamie's filming you.
Yeah.
And you're filming Jamie?
And then
I did a basketball stream yesterday. I don't know if you caught it.
and like he would bring this little boom box like radio, and he had during the session where we were skating the big brown rail, which we titled Big Brown. He brought this little boom box, and the radio station played Renegade by Stick.
Yeah, I did basketball yesterday.
I heard that song, and we were like, "Damn, this song's pretty sick."
Basketball stream.
I was in a big.
In your honor,
phase throughout
since you asked about it.
period.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember like it all just. The trip was really good though. I took my first trip to go stay with him and his friends and skate around, go to their skate shop. And most of this is all in one trip. And he did the same thing where I was there for like 5 or 6 days and did 10
Thanks
to
for being
12
here,
of his childhood tricks that he really wanted to do. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and we went there. And he did it. I was the only filmer, so if there's 2 angles of anything, he was doing it twice.
Wow. Really?
That's fucked up. And the only reason why like I'll accept you making me do it again
Nice.
is because you also do it to yourself and refilm everything a million times. So like if I have to do it twice, I'm just like, this is an injustice. Except for
What was-
I know you're gonna do
He
it.
wants the
What was
best
that
for you. He wants the best for you,
What
bro.
was that conversation like? Like if you did a trick, were you pretty straight like, hey, you should do that again?
No,
Oh.
I'm talking about saying like, hey, could I get one long lens?
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of times,
Totally.
people aren't into doing the same trick over. So you lip slide the rail, fisheye. I'm like, hey, do you have anything else in this rail? I'd love to get a long lens angle to back it up.
Yeah.
And he'd say, yeah, I think I can do
Why?
it. I'm like, dope. You got a lip slide, fisheye, Smith Curran long lens. And then we would work our way through
Why?
all the spots like that. And in some spots, if you didn't have 2 tricks, I'd like, maybe.
Sorry.
That's usually my line. Hey, do you think you got another one? Not like, you got to do this again. do you know who I am?
Totally.
And if someone says, no, that was really stressful, I don't think I got another one, I'm like, no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
And then I say, do you got anything else?
He says, no problem, absolutely. We'll pack up and leave. And the camera stays out. And he just like waits, like he does like a slow 10 count.
When you heard that song on the radio, when you were that's when you knew that you were going to use it.
I don't think we knew it. I just think we
okay.
thought it was cool, and then later I brought it up, and it had some nostalgia to our trip. So then it was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that would be sick.
Gotcha. Because you've made iconic videos. We talked about it, I think, first time you were here, or maybe even on a Zoom episode or whatever. But you have this vision in your head with the song before you even start, or while you're filming. You already have a song
That's best case scenario.
picked out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes, I mean, I don't know if you guys ever imagined this, and I might have talked about this on a previous episode. I apologize if it's repeat. But for me, I always imagined it like, if this person that's in this part were to be the lead singer of a band, what would that band look like and what would it sound like? And that, if you can find music that looks like that and feels like that, then it's basically like if they were a musician, that's the music they would make. So, in New Blood, I have long hair with a bandana on and like a bunch of military clothes and flannels, and I skate to Credence. It's basically, that's where I was living in that. I was in like 1969 to 70. I was in the Vietnam War.
Right.
During that period. That was my Vietnam War era. And I use Fortunate Son by Creedence because if I was in a band right then, that's what I'd be singing.
That's what you'd be.
Yeah.
That's an
So
interesting.
if you think about Alyssa Steamer skating Janis Joplin, I didn't make that part, but it's the same concept, same philosophy. And then the Sundays as well, and the Welcome to Hell, she skates to the Sundays. So it's kind of, I feel like people may be doing that subconsciously.
Did you say New Blood? Is that what the
New Blood was the Creedence part,
Yeah. Can I ask you something about New Blood? What was up with the first the wall ride? You break the window because like the second trick in, you land it.
I'll lay it on him.
So there. I mean, it's a great intro, by the way. But then coming up, there's another daytime shot of it. Did you go back to try to do it? What was the thing there?
Did it in the daytime.
Okay.
Didn't get a photo.
Thanks again a lot for all the subs. Southern Yellow Jack is really cool, of you, bro.
This was my 10 years of Thomas interview for Thrasher, and we needed a
You can
cover.
just look
and
if
we were like,
you want.
maybe if this photo turns out great, maybe it could be a cover. And so I went back to do it at night, and I was like, I want to go higher.
I might go
It's gonna be a
skate
cover. I wanna
today.
be at the top of this thing. Oh, my front wheels touching
There's
the
a
roof.
school
And so the reason
in
it
West
broke is I
Ottawa
pumped really hard
with this
to
like
try and
perfect
get
six
higher
stair,
up the glass.
but it's famous
Immediately
for
alarm went off.
skateboarding.
We grabbed all our gear.
But it's a Sunday
grabbed all the
in the
generators,
summer.
all the lights, and we were running to the van
It's
with
like
the lights and
perfect
generator.
time to try to.
The lights are on. The lights are on in the parking lot, flickering. Yeah.
If anything, there'll be
We
other
just unplugged
skaters
everything,
there.
Threw it all in the van as it is, and drove off because we knew it was a bank. It was only going to be less than 5 minutes.
Hopefully.
Oh, it was.
I'm just gonna try to all hit. That's
The
it.
cops were-
Yeah. So then.
Oh, you were there.
I was there.
Yeah. Then we.
I might stream it.
left,
I'll probably stream
And I
it.
was like, I gotta go back and see what happened. So we left,
Definitely
went to a
gonna
gas
film it.
station, and we broke off. I drove back by, and it was like full, like cops.
If and
everywhere.
when it happens.
And then I went back the next
In the
week. and I was
future.
like, man, we're gonna be wanted if I.
Man, I
use
went
that
to a couple
footage."
spots yesterday
And then
that I remember being
and I-
way
and I
better,
felt
but
bad. This time I had a
the
conscience.
ground
I
was
like,
just
man, I
impossible.
shattered their window.
At this time.
I mean, as a
Literally
young kid, I
impossible.
didn't have room to have.
And
a
it's right by
conscience. I was
houses
just
and
trying to
shit.
survive.
That's fair.
You know, but at this point, I was no longer in survival mode. I was trying to make a video part, and then I went back and I was like, "We gotta use the footage. I gotta use the footage." So I went and wrote an anonymous letter to the bank manager, and then I had a window guy come out and say, like, "I want to get at zero." I was like, "I want to get this window replaced. How much would it be?" And it was about the same size as that window.
Okay.
And the guy's like, $500. I'm like, "All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll let you know. We're gonna replace it." And then I just wrote an anonymous letter to the bank manager, put $500 bills, and went and filmed myself putting it into the mailbox with the address on it. And then I was like, I'm using the footage.
No way.
Pretty amazing.
And I was like, if they come at us or whatever, but I felt better about it, as
Totally.
And then also I was like, I'm going for it. We're going.
You.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, you never heard anything.
We never heard anything
Right.
because the bank manager kept the money. Never
Never knew who you were.
I'm sure he did, right?
You just paid the bank manager off right there.
Blamed it on a tweaker. And
You didn't say your name or anything?
No, I just said, I'm really sorry. I was skateboarding and broke your window. Here's $500. I hope this covers the damages.
Wow.
So that way I figured if
$500.
anyone ever said, "Hey, did you ever see this video
Insane.
where the guy broke your window?" They would be like, "Oh yeah, we got that."
He paid for it.
Yeah.
What? Oh, because I got ammo.
Covered itself.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'd always wondered that because it's like sometimes you see. I mean, we saw in the daytime, then at nighttime. So did you get the photo?
The photos cover Thrasher. Remember you been?
Sorry.
Got that.
What year was this?
2004.
2004.
It's alright. I'm just.
I mean, I'm supposed to know every cover.
No, you could have
change.
missed it. You could have missed it. But yeah, it was like a
$500.
pull-out poster, and it was the 10 years of Thomas cover.
10 years of Thomas. Man, that's it.
Trying to make it to this 30 years of Thomas second year.
I think you're well on your way.
I'm almost there.
Yeah. Crazy. It's good. Oh, we got it right here. Here's the cover. Oh,
There it is.
that's before window
That's
break.
1 or 2 tries before.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, that
So
was where I wanted to be.
Who shot him?
Shigeo.
Shigeo. Dope.
That's crazy. Like, this is evidence.
Shout out Shigeo, you're the best.
Yeah, he is the best. That's just like evidence on a cover of a magazine.
Yeah.
That
That's
also
pretty
was
wild.
heavily inspired by Cardiel. He had a Spitfire ad way back in the day, and it said the only office politics John Cardiel will ever know, and it had him wall riding a glass, like
What?
a tranny to wall or a tranny to glass in Northern California.
Okay.
Tobin photo.
Tobin Yellen.
Yeah, I was a kid when I saw it, and I was like, oh my god. Anyway, that was like a homage or just like inspired by John Carter.
I love the fact that you paid. You sent an anonymous letter.
Yeah, that's
and everything.
amazing.
Like, that's incredible. Man.
Cole's in the
Like
inside.
on a. Oh wait, where?
It says Wallenberg murdered.
Oh god.
I just saw that.
Is that when you 360 looked it?
There it is.
There it is.
Look at that.
No, that
Dude,
was
that should have been a cover right there.
Smooth as glass.
The only office politics I know.
That's not a same spot, is it?
No, that's
I mean, it looks the same.
I think that one's got trained into it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's
Dude, he is.
His reflection on there. So
Too early.
I bought a poster of this from Tobin last year.
You did. That's smart.
yeah. Waldenberg. That was the same one.
he says it so good.
Waldenberg.
You got some unnecessary letters in there, dog.
He's comes through with some wild stuff every now and then.
Who?
You.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I genuinely want, like, is that something you can't just get out of your brain?
You got to be able to say Wallenberg.
Wallenberg for sure.
Yeah,
But
now
once
it's a joke.
I've been saying it for so long, Waldenberg, that
I like it, man. I like it. Stick with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like that.
Come on,
You're
man.
infuriating people
Good.
at home, but that's okay.
Oh,
Good.
yeah, I get comments all the time.
Yeah,
Dude needs to know what's really good.
dude, you.
Yeah.
I purposely don't like making fun of some of that stuff because if I say it as a joke, then I might say it for real. Like take it for granted.
Yes.
You know, things like that. Like I don't do that because I'll say it for real one time and be like, oh no, I'm done.
You know, it's like the Spanish Mike thing. You hear P-Rod and him going back and forth?
so good.
The hand-me-downs.
The hand-me-down.
Hand-me-downs.
That was a good post.
Yeah.
P-Rod like almost like
He almost passed out.
yeah, he almost passed out. Yeah.
Oh,
He couldn't breathe.
Good laugh.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had this thought really quickly because you had mentioned, that person, that skater's an album cover and what they should skate to in the video. Chomp on This.
Why? Where are you even?
Totally not the song.
I was what I was trying to sing in that time.
Come on,
Trying to rap like Master P.
Fucking in.
But what an iconic video part, Chomp on This, but it worked.
That was Trainwreck's song, actually. Trainwreck used to listen to that song on tour all the time, and it was like this anthem that I don't know if you guys ever did I tell this story where we would have music on in the front of the car, and then Trainwreck would not like the music, and then the next stop he would buy a boombox, and then put his own music on in the back.
No.
And we'd have two sections of music.
In the van.
In the van, yeah. And then we'd have to be like,
That is maddening.
I'd have to turn ours down to listen to the boombox in the back.
So he's got Master P on in the back, and you've got Creedence on in the front. Is that what's going on?
That's what's going on.
God.
It was tough. He was a handful during that time period, but super fun.
So Chomp on This, that was your pick?
That was my pick because I fell in love with the song because of just how funny it was.
That actually blows my mind.
like why?
Never think that you.
But it was because Trainwreck
Fucking dumb. Man.
brainwashed me.
Yeah, embedded that shit into your
It
head.
embedded it in my head, and it became this like fun tour song
Yeah.
in my head. And then when I heard Henry was going to skate to Guns N' Roses, and Ty was like, we're trying to mix it up. We're doing like the Thrill Of It All intro section. Like, he's like, I'd love for you to skate to something that you normally wouldn't. And so I was like, all right. And I went and thought about some stuff. And anyway, that song came up, and he was like, I love it. We're going with it.
It worked.
Yeah, it was great.
So
Fortunately, Trainwreck and I weren't like on the best of terms at the time, so I used the song, and I remember it.
And he got bumped.
Yeah, he's like, man, that's my song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but fair enough. I didn't like hit him up and be like, yo, man, it's cool if I use that message.
I know you were playing that in the the tour the whole time.
I mean, I could see where he's coming from.
It'd be funny if you
what-
denied it though. You're just like, what? That's
Ty
my
picked
song.
it. Ty picked
That was
it.
my song. I played it in the band.
But it's iconic. I would have never guessed it. I thought for sure that was a Ty pick.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I knew it was him.
Well, you're on tour together. I'm not in the
But
band.
I wasn't on Zero during
Yeah,
Trainwreck
this is
era.
a year before Cold.
Okay.
So I
Why?
I
Like,
knew it was
what?
him for sure.
Most of this is leftovers from Dying to Live.
It's just too much,
Yeah,
man.
we hadn't put Dying to Live out yet, but I already knew things that weren't going to make the cut. And so, and then we went out and started goofing off, which was fun. But a lot of it is like stuff where I had what I thought were better versions of it. But it's also random, and that's why I think it's good. Well, most of my parts were really planned out. I've been dreaming about them. choreographing them and curating them, and this is not all that. And Ty edited, this. We stayed up one night and edited it, and he asked for my input, but he was behind the wheels.
Ty's a guy that you just trust.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
For sure. And I think that helped make it, more. That was not my typical part.
For sure, but I think that's what made it so fantastic.
I agree.
I didn't even fucking decide what to do.
100%.
Yeah, this is all his idea.
Wasn't even thinking.
What about the throwback to the one more try? 5-0 down the rail, and you did it in here.
That was a kickflip.
Yeah, this one was a kickflip. But
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
Like, was that just on a session, or was that like, oh, hey, we should do that one more try thing for this? Or?
I don't think I was acting in this. I think I was really saying one more.
Okay. This worked out.
But
that
then
way.
after that, everyone since has been a parody, either done by me or mentioned by someone else.
I mean, it's iconic.
That is
It's
definitely
cool, man.
iconic.
It's cool with me. I don't care. You can make fun of me all you want.
How can
I don't
that's
think
amazing. That's like one of the people talk about that.
Yeah. I think it's incredible because
Just random skate park clip thrown in there.
the one more try is I don't know. It's just like it's something we could all relate to. We can feel like we didn't land the trick well, so we want to do it again.
Yeah. I definitely feel like that.
100%.
For sure.
I think
On occasion.
that one got attention because the first one looked good enough for the average person, but I was on such a relentless pursuit of excellence at that
Come
time.
on, man.
I wasn't taking. I really envisioned that trick and a lot of other tricks. I'm sure a lot of people do this. You envision it looking and feeling a certain way, and if you get something less than that, and you got a lot on the line, and you're willing to put it all on the line again, then keep going.
What video was this in again? The 5-0. Can we pull up the misled youth? I wanted. No, because I watched this recently, and I watched the land that you didn't like, and then the one you did, and 100% it's way better. The second one.
I like the first one better. Just because it has like a raw energy to it. It's like it kind of tips on the heel and kind of shows a bit of rawness. But I feel like I was always in pursuit of perfection, and I don't think perfection is always better. I just wanted it to feel a certain way. I didn't go back and watch the footage, obviously. I just turn left and
It's the landing right here. You kind of squirrel out a little
It
bit.
tips almost like it's gonna. That's Daxter Lucier in the background. He came there to grind it that day. So crazy.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys both showed up?
I was already skating him when he showed up.
And he said, "Oh my God, Jamie Thomas is 5-0 winning this. I wanted a 50-50 it."
I don't know what. I didn't know I wanted a 5-0. I just knew I wanted a 50 it, so I went there to 50 it. I actually, this is random, and I'm not trying to get all about myself in this, but a few tries before this, I'm 50-50 it, trying to build up the nerve, and I hit my axle one time on the way up, and you can hear it, ding, and then I actually get into a grind and make the trick, and it was the scariest thing.
Oh my goodness.
That rail's not small by any means. It's not like, I know now you get desensitized because of the things that we see, Nyjah, full cap back lip and stuff. But like, if you go to this rail, present day, you're like, that's humongous.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for rail skaters, like Dane and Kanan, a couple of those dudes, they just go there and jump on it. It's like not even a thing for them. It's small for them. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of scary though because you're up really high on like overlooking the bay. Whenever I skate rails like that, the horizon makes it feel like you're on top of the world and it makes it scarier feeling.
Yeah, the Tri-City rail does that too. Tri-City, which you front boarded.
It's terrible like that. It's the worst rail, that Tri-City
It's
green rail.
because you're going kind of uphill at the screen rail.
That's pretty good. I waited a
front
little
board,
longer
right?
before shooting there.
You're going uphill at it, right?
Oh,
So
come
you
on,
barely
man.
see any rail. And then there's parking lot, and then there's like a 30-foot drop to the next parking lot. So you're just looking, you see that parking lot, and you're on the top of a mountain. Wow. You're about to front board a mountain.
It's terrifying.
I know. I hate when I can't see the end of a manual pad. It just, it's crazy. Bugs me out.
Different shit here, bro.
Get anxiety.
What? Does? I still can't see the end of it.
First world problem, still a problem.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have questions that you want to ask us, or are you just winging it?
I have a few things written down
here.
Yes. I would love to get into the Fallen stuff if we could, because that was something that you started, and then you eventually I don't know if you sold the trademark or what happened with that. I'm not quite sure about the story, but it's now again Fallen is.
You even knew you were gonna kneel, you motherfucker.
It's risen.
Literally
It's
the same
risen.
motherfucker.
Revamped.
Same fucking
and
guy.
then Cole, you skate for them.
I do.
Fucking so dumb,
And
man.
how
That's
do you
just so
feel about
dumb.
that now?
Fuck
How do I
this
feel about
game.
Cole skating for it?
No, I mean like just the
All right, well let me tell you the story.
Please.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it and fast forward.
Okay.
And there's a interesting element to earlier you saying that did I get a unanimous decision on Cole joining the team? So when Cole got on Zero, some of the guys were like, I don't really see this as fit. John Alley was one of them who said, I don't really see this as a fit. But he's like, man, it's your company. I'll support it. You know. Anyway, so we start Fallen next year. So that's 2002 when Cole gets on Zero. And I start Fallen in 2003. Alley was the first team rider. He was on float for Circa, and I was leading Circa, and my shoe was the only shoe he rode. My shoe was going with me. We were going to start something where I was going to start a new brand.
Oh, you were actually taking your shoe from Circa and going to redo it on Fallen?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also I was going to be there for John. John is very particular about what he skated. He wanted like a certain density of rubber. The toe height had to be a certain height, and he's an amp at this point. Like, he was just so particular about everything. So he knew that I would be willing to work with him on his particulars. So he came to Fallen with me. He was the first team rider, and then Billy Marks and Josh Harmony. And then, I'm now going on tour with Cole regularly because we're on Zero together. And Cole is complaining or just sharing with me his frustrations at Circa. He's pro now. They're working on a pro shoe. They tell him that his pro shoe is going to be a team model, something that he's been working on designing. I'm sorry for taking the story. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah.
Wait, they were going to give you a team shoe? What did you just say?
He had designed a shoe.
I designed a shoe.
That seemed like it was going to be his pro model shoe, but then it was ending up that
They made it a team shoe.
they were going to make it a team shoe. So before that came out, he was telling me those frustrations, and I said, why don't we take elements of that shoe? Why don't you come ride for Fallen? We'll make a shoe for you that's exactly what you want. And we'd already had a year and a half of working together at Zero.
Fuck
We
you,
already
man.
had a rapport that was really working. So he said yes, and ironically, Ali was like, hey man, you put Cole on Zero. I don't really have much to say about it. Now you're putting him on Fallen 2. This feels weird because this was like, I didn't really see this as a good fit. I don't really have something personally against Cole, but I don't want to be on two brands with the dude. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you know what? I just got a call from Circa the other day. What do you think about me entertaining going back to Circa? And I was like, okay. What do you think about that? Anyway, Cole was in a contract at Circa. Ali was in a contract at Fallen. And Raul Reese, the owner of Circa, the dude who I communicated with when I rode for Circa, hit me up and was like, hey, what do you think about doing a trade?
Wow.
And I was,
First time I heard this.
Damn, I was too slow.
I know. There's straight up a trade. Okay.
yeah,
Fuck.
he's like,
too
Cole
slow.
has another year on his contract.
And
Ali
I
has
shot the
another year
wrong
on his
leg.
contract. How about we just rip
But I
up
was
his
too
contracts
slow.
and we'll take
Again.
Cole and you take Cole. And I said,
Did you know about this?
When I see him running, maybe I should just
If I ever did
move
know
up.
about it.
Wow.
and I
Like,
went
I'm hearing it. I'm
Maybe I should
with
go to
you
the
guys.
spot, and then when I see him run, maybe just advance a little bit. 'cause I'm not getting there in time.
I went to Ali and said,
I think I'm gonna do that next
talk
time.
To those dudes.
It was a
They
pretty
would
good
love to have
attempt.
you if that's
Did
something
we open the door? I think we opened the door.
they're willing to let
Oh, I
Cole out
can't
of
see.
his contract. I'm
We
down
did.
To let you out of your contract.
It's a
And
pretty
he's
good
like,
attempt.
I would love that. And
I just gotta move up a little bit. When I see him run, that's what I was thinking, right? So you see him run, he's gonna do the animation anyways. Why don't you just move forward a little bit?
If you're cool with this, I'd be
You got a
happy
risk
to
not getting shot by that fucking side guard though.
hit Cole up and was like, Cole,
But it's worth it
these dudes are down. They're
to
down
make
the
it.
other contract.
Otherwise, you're too slow.
Ali's gonna go to Circa and you'll ride for Fallen.
It's a good attempt. Good attempt.
Billy and Josh are the coolest, easiest going dudes ever.
I gotta move up.
They were just
I'll
like,
move up.
yeah,
I'll move
heck
up.
Yeah, Chris Cole. Heck yeah, let's do it. And they're like, bummed John's got to go, but
Yeah.
if John's not feeling it, then
Did you know about that? About John not wanting to be on two teams?
Yeah,
Like,
I did.
oh, you
Dude,
talked-
he has
you
such
talked to him
fast
about it? I mean, I
fucking
just,
feet too.
I remember it was a
Holy
hard
shit.
conversation.
I'm sure.
No, I did. I called him about it.
Oh, you
And I
did?
said, hey, this is a tough conversation. And
But it's, I mean, I think that that's not the. I don't think that that's the weirdest thing to happen. I think it's an odd thing that we hear about.
Now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hear about it, but that happens all the time.
Right.
Just usually everybody just like
On the low.
zips their lip.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just
See that?
people feel
You
threatened.
can go pretty far without him
I
being.
don't know.
Right, you
Sometimes
go up a little bit.
It's more competition.
That's definitely a part of it to a degree.
You know,
I
In certain elements.
I would
That'd be
agree
way
that that
better.
was
It'll be like 1,000 times better.
Team right around Fallen, and he had my undivided attention, and he knew I had not a soft spot for Cole, but he knew I'd gone out on a limb already for Cole, and maybe he thought that Cole would go above him in the tier. But what it really did is it eased the relationship with John, because John was very particular. I was already trying to work with him on concaves and shape tweaks and graphic tweaks, and I also was working with him at Fallen, and it was too much pressure for me, for being one person,
Oh, man.
to manage both of his needs.
Gotcha.
And so it basically freed me from one, and it made our relationship at Zero better. And he saw that. He saw that that was going to happen.
amazing.
Yeah. And his career was taking off. He had just done that flip to slide, flip to grind part, and Circa
Kickflip gun.
Circa pretty much like offered him a pro shoe as a rookie. And I was pretty much doing the same thing for Cole, but I had front row seat to what was next for Cole. I knew what we were working on. I knew what we just did for Dying to Live and how fast we did it. I was
This
there
is so
filming
dumb.
in Barcelona with Lee Dog, and
He's just so
saw it
dumb.
all. And I was like, I know where this is going, and
Whatever.
I believe absolutely that we could do a pro shoe with him in the second year of Fallen. So that was 2004 is when he got on Fallen, and the shoe came out shortly after. We went
I
into
guess I can go
production
way
because
up
we had
here,
a
right?
Circa
Like, I can
sample
go way
as
up.
the starting point. So the jump off for the Trooper.
That's why I'm
was,
too.
let's build
That's
on
why I'm
the
too
Circa
slow, because
shoe.
I'm too far away, which will
come
make
out
everything
too
easier
slow
with the
they want.
shot
Which
and
they did,
everything.
right?
We'll make it different.
So everything will be better.
And he even had a
Yeah,
colorway.
Ram
I'm
and
just
Jedi
too far
used to
away.
Wear it all the time.
Crazy.
But that always helps you. Like if you have something to work with, and Cole already had a design that he'd fed them, and then that he'd pitch them. And
What
then
the
I could
fuck?
take that as a starting point, and then I could work with him, and that was where the Trooper came from.
I mean, it happens all the time. Rick Howard took his shoe to DC when he went to DC.
Totally.
Let's not just brush over the first trade, because that's pretty impressive. I'd never heard of anything like that. We're talking about contracts and like, let's just figure this out.
But it's almost like both
That's kinda
both
sick.
skaters wanted it. So
It's really rare that both skaters and both company owners want it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, totally.
really, never heard of that before.
But for you guys as owners to have that conversation in the first place,
I think it worked out because I'd only quit Circa a year before, and it was amicable.
oh, it was okay.
Because they were financially strapped, they couldn't afford to pay me, they hadn't been paying me, and I said, hey, I want to do my own company, and they were like, I'm not going to ride for a competitor, I'm going to do what they did. Whenever someone leaves your company to go do what you've done, you got to respect that, So, and I gave them 6 months to sell off my shoes, and I started planning Fallen, in private meetings while I still rode for Circa.
Right.
So I don't know if this is ever, maybe it's been done. I don't know. I'm not trying to like I invented the wheel over here. But the day
Insane
my contract
recovery.
ended with Circa,
Like, you can go way
Fallen
up
launched
here.
the next day.
Like, you can even go
Very
to the fucking.
Some would say that was planned.
I love this.
And at DC, Ken and Damon believed so much in what we were doing or what I was doing, what I was bringing, and what we were planning to launch that they just bought blind inventory and brought it in, and no one knew of the brand until the day, and you could buy it today.
Because they started helping you manufacture and
So-
distribute.
So I went to Ken and Damon. So here's the story. I was going to ride for Circa. I was leaving audio because K2 owned it, and I felt it was corny because K2 was a rollerblading ski brand, and it just felt every trip I'd gone on and the things that I did.
Why?
Chris Miller was amazing. Jeff Taylor, team manager, all the riders were amazing, but I couldn't get past the fact that I rode for K2. And anyway, I was leaving audio. Circa made me an amazing offer. Around that time, Kelly Bird talked about this. I got an offer from Lukai. Yes. But they were going to make me an owner at Circa, and they were paying me whatever Muska was getting. I think I talked about this in a previous episode.
okay.
They asked me what I wanted, and I just said whatever you're giving Chad. And they said yes. They said yes. So before I signed that contract, I had the utmost respect for Ken and Damon. And so I called Ken and Damon. I knew this was the peak of my career. I called Ken and Damon and said, look, I'm about to sign a contract with Raw Reese at Circa. I've heard mixed reviews on Raw. I don't have any personal experience. And would you guys have any interest in starting a shoe company, a second shoe company to DC? And right at that point, they were in a lawsuit with the previous partner, Clay, to divide the shares and to change the ownership. And they said, we're not in the position to do it now. If this opportunity comes along in the future, please feel free to hit us up. Ooh. So when things started going south at Circa financially, I reached back out to Ken and Damon. It's been 3 years. I reached back out and said, hey,
like,
you know,
was this guy even hit?
Years ago, I did the Circa thing. It was amazing. It was awesome. We got to travel, do all these things. They're going through financial struggles because they had a snowboard brand. They gave terms on like a whole season of snowboards, and it was the worst season of snow in decades. And they were hung out to dry on all their money. So
runs are going really well, actually.
Snowboard business.
I know it doesn't look like it, but it's
we had the highest salaries.
Like it's hope.
Feeling it the most. So at any rate, I went back to Ken and Damon and said, hey,
stonks are up.
Have any interest on starting a new brand? Things are going south at Circa, and I would like to find a home and do something new and have a vision for what I want to do. Anyway, they said yes, and now's a great time. Come meet with us, and we met, and we launched Fallen in the beginning through DC.
You launched it through DC, but only a year later they sold DC.
They sold in 9 months.
In 9 months, and they didn't want Fallen to go with them.
They did want Fallen. So
they did.
Quicksilver bought it. Yep. I had a clause in my contract that said if more than 51% of the company sold, I could take Fallen.
Ooh, you wrote that into the. That's smart.
I didn't write it, but they knew they may be in a position to sell, and that may be the best way to get where they wanted to go. And so they
like I can even move up to the next post, honestly.
And I was like, well, I don't want to automatically just be owned.
I think I'm going to do that.
Sell to. So how can we put something in the contract that, you know, doesn't get me stuck in some long-term deal with somebody I didn't sign up
for. With K2 again.
Quicksilver this time. Anyway, so Quicksilver bought it, and I was like, I don't want to sell the Quicksilver. I'm super hyped on running my own brand. And I just left K2 a couple years ago. I didn't want to be involved in the corporate thing. I want to do my own thing.
So you brought it to?
I brought it to zero.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For a long time.
Yeah. So I don't know if you made a fast forward.
Oh, wow, it was fast.
Yeah, I want to fast forward because, like, I think, you know, nowadays with Chris being on Fallen now, and then you kind of, I don't know if you have anything to do with Fallen. I don't know if you sold the trade. I don't know what happened there.
I'll give you a quick explanation.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So 2009-10, you know, the financial bubble burst.
Ooh.
And it was rough everywhere. The footwear landscape was changing radically around that time. 11 and 12 were really tough. Nike, Adidas, Vans, Converse were taking over the wall at skate shops.
What year did the PacSun thing implode also? Was that a part of it?
We weren't in PacSun.
No, okay.
It didn't affect us. But
that was 2008.
That was 2008? Okay.
But it was just getting worse and worse. The skate footwear landscape was getting really, really difficult for core endemic skate brands. Mm-hmm. And, you know, rightfully so, those other guys had amazing marketing. They had, you know, all the money, and they had the resources, and they made great shoes. So, you know, I wasn't in the position to see all that at the time. I just felt like we were being attacked, which, you know, is kind of the defensive play. That was where my mindset was. Mm-hmm. At any rate, I was trying to do everything I could at that time to keep the brand going. But we had a pretty big operation at that point. I had bit off more than I could chew on a bad day. And so we had a lot of overhead that I really couldn't reverse from that fast. And so it got to be a point where we were, you know, I also, I will admit this, I built and remodeled a big house at this time period. Okay. So I took the first money I'd ever taken out of the company at this time. So some cash that I had taken out of the company, we then needed because we were going into a financial crisis. Oh. And so I borrowed money. I borrowed $1 million from the factory.
From the factory?
From the factory.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't unheard of. This happens a lot.
For sure.
So if the company falls on hard times and they need financial support, the factory will give them $1 million in terms, which doesn't cost them $1 million, so they get a pretty good deal on it. You know, maybe it costs them $750,000, but they got $1 million loan on paper.
Okay.
So they gave us $1 million in terms, and that's, you know, several seasons of footwear that we could make without money going out. And then there was a clause that they could turn that loan into equity if they wanted. And so if the company recovered and started doing really well, they could turn their $1 million plus interest into equity and own a portion of the entities that were offered and that were signed up as collateral. So at the time, Zero, Mystery, Fallen,
everything,
and Black Box was all signed for collateral on that $1 million loan.
So they would have been owners of everything.
If I they would have been a percentage owner. They would have had a percentage ownership of all brands if they wanted to activate that. So we went down the road 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. It wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. So interest is accumulating, and the brands are selling less and less. And it gets to a point where we're at a crossroads, and some of the riders start leaving. Cole goes to DC. Some things start shaking up, and we still have a really big overhead. So the industry is getting shook even more. Fallen sales are going down. I'm laying off my friends. Myself and the management crew were laying people off at Black Box. It was a really tough time. A lot of that had to do with the fact that I committed to this massive overhead. So this is my opportunity to take it in the teeth here. I made some irreversible changes that I couldn't turn around from in a short period of time, which I'll never do again, obviously.
Learn your lesson.
I lost a lot. So eventually, Black Box is not sustainable. I end up closing Black Box down, and then at this point, the employees went from like 100 to like 6. Wow. Yeah, over like a 3-year period.
That warehouse you had down there was huge.
It was like a Walmart.
Yeah.
It was insane.
That's one of the best skate parks I've ever skated.
Sold the real estate and liquidated what I could, but I still now owed this factory this money. I licensed the brand.
All right, one sec. You're back.
To help me recover from the emotional toil of this whole process. Everything I had built was kind of on the rocks. I licensed Zero and Fallen to Dwindle.
Oh yeah,
I did a 5-year license to Dwindle, and they had the means with Globe there to be able to give Fallen the best possible chance, being already having so much footwear experience in the building. Right. And then because Zero was different than their brands, it gave them something to offer shops in order to help shops that may have not been strong, or Zero customers are strong. It all made sense, right?
Sure.
At any rate, we made the best shoes over the next 2 years with Dwindle that we had ever made, but it still wasn't working. I was like begging my friends that own skate shops to take the shoes, and it was to a point where we couldn't meet minimums anymore. And so I now have the person I loaned the money to coming and going, wait, you shut Black Box down? That was part of the guarantor on my loan, and now you're with someone else. How are you going to pay me back? So they filed lawsuits against me and each one of the individual brands. And so at this point, I'm analyzing the market. Fallen it's not looking good for Fallen, and now I have this $1 million loan is at $1.4 million because the interest has gotten it to 1.4. So I owe the factory 1.4 million, and Zero and Fallen are the only two brands. Zero, Fallen, and Mystery are the only two brands that I still own. So I'm trying to figure out how I can get out of this and what's the best route to still have a life in some of this.
Sure.
So it's like goes from the best case scenario to worst case scenario in 5 years. At any rate,
that's quick.
I'll wrap this up. So we go into negotiations, and I settle for signing over the trademarks.
I gotta go.
Paying a cash settlement. And
Sorry, Southern Yellow Jacket.
so I shut Fallen down.
I gotta go, but we
wasn't
learned,
working
dude,
anyway. It was
this
like
stream was so massive because we learned that we gotta go forward. Like, let me put on some invisibility.
And so
Let's
we
just
closed
do,
Fallen
like,
down.
we learned so much. I gotta go, though.
Handed over the trademarks.
My brother
Signed over the trademarks
is...
to the factory. The factory held on to him for 2 years. We had a licensor and
My brother
licensee
is
and
in the semifinals of a
that had been
baseball
licensed
game
and Fallen went through Black Box.
at 11:30.
They expressed interest to the manufacturer. They would
And
be
then if he makes the
interested in buying
finals,
trademarks.
is there a
So they
2?
bought the trademarks, relaunched in South America. It went well. Then they, I think,
How am I not invisible?
Europe,
Like,
and it was
Jesus
being
fucking
received
Christ.
well.
Like,
This is
Jesus
5
Christ.
years.
Come on,
So
guys.
it basically gave the market like us enough time to want something like Fallen again, and for that nostalgia to come bubbling to the surface. And then they had plans to relaunch in the United States. They hired my
Okay.
ex-partner Chad.
I do have to go, though.
Launched that
Anyways, I gotta go.
and,
Well, we learned we gotta move up
went
forward
back
in the
to
dark
17.
room a lot.
He came to me and asked what my thoughts were. I was like, man,
I don't think I'm gonna raid anybody. I don't know who's on.
it is what
Wait,
it
did
is.
they ask you to be a part of it, or?
They did ask me to be a part of it, but they offered me $500 a month, so I declined.
I kindly decline.
I respectfully declined. So And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know
The
I did
DJ.
want to
The DJ's
go
on. We're
from
definitely rating
owning
the
a
DJ.
company, and there's a lot of
Go
ego
go
in
follow the
all of that.
Retronomicon
I owned a
one.
I
He's
started
playing
a
GoldenEye,
company,
but
I
we're
owned a
definitely rating
company,
the
saw it
DJ.
at its peak, and then was going to come as a team rider with very little influence over the company and ride for him for $500.
Sure.
That just seemed like I'd rather not do that.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
yeah, and
for
around this
sure.
time,
Thank you, Thunder Yellow Jacket. You rule.
been talking to Angel at Stray.
Peace out.
He was doing something new, and he wanted Musk and I to be involved. So it just, the timing wasn't good for me, but the fact that they were able to call Chris and Tommy and the team, Billy and the team riders that used to ride for it, and some of those guys were either in flux or in between shoe deals, and they were able to get the band back together. But your original question was, how does that feel for me? It's
Sure.
tough. It's tough to watch something that I was so passionate about, that I put so much into, exist in such a different way than I saw it. But at the same time, I think, there's like...
But you also went through turmoil with it also. You went through the lowest of the low.
Yeah. But I just see it as, it's part of my journey to just accept that I don't have control over these types of things, and I just have to be happy for my friends that they have a sponsor, and they, Cole gets to design and make cool shoes, and I just keep trying to focus on what I'm doing and not really worry about it. So.
And how did that make you? Did you have any issues or things going back to following when this all came around? Because you obviously knew all of this story that
totally.
Jamie's telling.
No, totally.